Assalamualaikum and a very good day to everyone. My name is Muhammad Ishaq bin Abdurrani, and today I will be presenting new innovative seismic migration technique. Now, moving on to the first part, which is the introduction. Okay, the definition of coherence can be defined as the measure of the similarity between two seismic traces. The seismic waveform is the result of the seismic wavelets interaction with the subsurface geology. Depending on the acoustic impedance contrast and also the thickness of layers above and below the reflecting boundary, the waveform can be determined by amplitude, frequency, and also phase. Acoustic impedance is affected by the lithology, porosity, density, and fluid type of the subsurface layer. Now let's look at figure 1. Figure 1a, it shows that the anomaly due to gas cloud, where you can observe from the red rectangle, while figure b, it shows the better interpretation of the subsurface. The red line is indicating the fault structures. Okay, now shallow gas accumulation will disrupt a seismic wave propagation, which resulting in unilluminated reflectors, or in other words, incoherency towards the seismic image. Now the gas cloud effect can be seen by the chaotic response in figure 1a on the red rectangle. Okay, so the subsurface features such as fault and lithology is distorted due to presence of gas cloud, where you can see in figure 1a and figure 1b, the lithology and also the fault structure is being distorted due to the gas cloud presence. Now let's look at the imaging method to improve the incoherency. Now to improve the image coherency, two techniques will be incorporated, which are first the focal beam and also second the ray tracing. Okay, this hybrid is known as the illumination factor analysis. Now let's look at the what is focal beam is all about. Okay, the signals are propagated upwards from the target reflector until they reach the surface level. Then the wave is formed of single frequency which contains information from a single point, thus creating illumination analysis. Next, for ray tracing interpolation, ray interpolation for complex subsurface might not follow an interpolation analysis. Therefore, we will the multiple ray fans were interpolated towards the reflected, and the number of rays detected at receiver location were recorded and analyzed. Okay, now moving on to the methodology for illumination factor analysis. Now, before combining both techniques, a workflow consists of illumination is required. Okay, a comprehensive velocity model is required, which can obtain from the previous seismic processing. Next, start with selecting a refractor depth interest, which then a wave is emitted upwards when the source where the source and receiver are placed. Okay, the upwards wave will convolve before propagating back to the targeted reflector. After the focal beam finish processing, okay, we will then conduct the ray tracing analysis. Right, the ray tracing will travel through the layers and anomalies and will only reflect it back once the ray reaches the depth target. Then by using the mathematical manipulation, we can then calculate the illumination factors. Here you can see in figure 3, it shows the summary workflow used in the hybrid. Okay, let's proceed to the suitability of imaging parameters. Now, from the figure 3, it shows from figure 3a, it shows the results from focal beam, while for figure 3b, it shows the ray tracing method results. Last but not least, figure 3c, it shows the illumination factor analysis, which is the combination of the focal beam and also the ray tracing method. Okay, now let's look at the figure 3a for the focal beam. Okay, the result shows that the amplitude is uniform throughout the section, but the amplitude value is low. While for figure 2b, it shows that the number of hit counts scattered throughout the section, but high ray in the middle section. While for figure 3c, okay, the combination of focal beam and also ray tracing method, it gives a better distribution of the gas cloud. Now, once we manage to evaluate in terms of the gas cloud, we can then confidently interpret the subsurface. Now it seems we have reached to the final discussion, which is the advancement of knowledge. Okay, there are two seismic imaging that I would like to suggest, which is The first is a Q compensation. Now, Q compensation can be used to compensate for exponential loss of high frequency energy. As we discussed earlier, when due to gas cloud presence, okay, some of the frequency energy is lost, causing misinterpretation of the subsurface and also misinterpretation of the location of the gas itself. Okay, so by using Q compensation, we can compensate for the lost energy and make it a better interpretation. Okay, the algorithm used for Q compensation is by modifying FK phase shift and stall migration algorithms. Okay, now there are three types of corrections for Q composition, which are first amplitude only, second phase only, and last one is amplitude and phase. Okay, the combination of amplitude and phase. Now, the second methodology, second seismic imaging that I would like to suggest is by using artificial intelligence algorithm. Now, AI artificial intelligence algorithm can assist in overcoming these obstacles by automating the process and resulting in a quick method for oil exploration and the subsurface identification. Now, it seems that we have reached to the end of my presentation. That is all from me. Thank you and have a nice day.